Whoa, you scared me. I didn't see you there. Welcome to Paint Coach. I'm Chris Fornatero, here to help simplify oil painting so you can get better, faster. I was just finishing up this commission I have of a portrait. You want to see how I did it? Well, I videoed the whole thing. Let's take a look. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is draw in my figure, and I'm using some Vine charcoal, which I like a lot. Wipes off really easily. You'll see me constantly just wiping stuff off my hand and redrawing it. I've toned my canvas here using cerulean blue, some burnt umber, and a little bit of cadmium red. Wanted to use a kind of a warmer color because there's a lot of cool tones in the face, so I wanted to contrast that with a warm background. So at this point I'm just blocking everything in, and I almost wouldn't even call this drawing as much as making a blueprint. Like, I'm just marking where key spots are. Where does the nose fall, where do the eyes fall, where's the hairline, the mouth, stuff like that. I'm not concerned, as you'll see, with drawing an accurate representation of a mouth or eyes or anything like that. I'm just measuring and comparing the shapes and just make sure everything is aligned and where I want it to be. And I'll do most of the drawing while I'm painting. Alright, so now I'm just putting in some colors here. When you first started putting in colors, you're not going to nail the color and values right away, so don't worry about it. You'll see with this one, it's a lot of pushing, a lot of pulling. You can see from the reference photo in the bottom left hand corner, the values are very close. There's not like very harsh, distinct shadows on this. It's very smooth, and there's not a big difference from the darks and the lights, which makes you have to really constantly double checking your values next to each other. You'll see me lay down a color and I'll see how it looks to the color next to it, and then I'll adjust it, and then I'll go back and adjust the color next to it, and then go back, and it's a lot of pushing and pulling of the colors and the values. And I'm not really worried about detail here. You can see for the teeth, it's literally just one stroke. I really just want to see all the major shapes and get all the major values next to each other, make sure everything's working as a whole. I don't get caught up in one area for too long. I'm constantly moving around. And also, something with brush strokes. A way to think of brush strokes, I had an art teacher tell me this one time, and it really stuck, is think of your brush strokes as if it were paper mache, laying it on the actual object. Like, the direction the brush stroke should go, should be similar as if you took some wet paper mache and you're wrapping it around the object. So kind of wrap your brush strokes around the object in the appropriate direction. It's kind of a way to think of it. But a lot of that's just going to come with time and practice. You'll just get a sense for your brush strokes and the direction and all that stuff. And I'm still, I really haven't gotten into any detail yet. I'm just constantly pushing the values, seeing areas where I can go lighter, areas where I can go darker, areas where I need to, match it closer to the value next to it. Having even drawn in the eyes yet, I've kind of realized that I like to paint everything around the eye to kind of draw the eye. I don't really draw the eye in per se as much as draw the space around it. And like anything else, you can see I just put the blue in the eyes in, and then I'll go over top of that to put the black. I won't, a lot of people I'll see will try and draw the pupil to black and then draw the ring of color around it, and it's just it's a little more difficult. It gets very easy to overdo shadows, especially lines in the face, like this creases in the corners of the mouth where the cheeks are. Like, it's when you roll, you constantly have to be judging and looking at your reference photo and really seeing the difference of the darks to the lights around them and how dark they actually are, and not how dark your mind is kind of tricking you into seeing them. And I do have I always work with a black and white photo and a color photo up, so I can always double check my values to make sure I'm not going too dark or too light with anything. And here I'm putting the background in. I probably, should have put this background in earlier, just so I could get a sense of it with the colors of the face as I'm putting it in. You never want to just kind of drop in a background at the very end. You kind of want it there as you're making decisions with the colors in the face, so it all works together. And also, it's a good way to, as a kind of like a backup for your drawing, to be able to reshape the head by using the negative space of the background that you paint behind it. I find it always very impressive when people don't do that, which means that they just nailed the drawing, perfectly the first time. They didn't need that safety net of the background to kind of reshape certain areas. Now I'm kind of going in with a smaller brush and getting details, but not too much. This is going to be a pretty simple paint. I was actually pretty proud of how I was able to keep it fairly simple without getting into too much detail. Just putting in a lot of highlights, and I would always I'd put my highlights in, then I'd realize I kind of need to lighten up my darks a little bit, and it's kind of going back and forth a lot here. See, now I'm putting in the pupils of the eyes, kind of using that same dark, putting the darks in the corners of the mouth, getting the ears. Ears tend to be more red, like ears, nose, because just the blood vessels close to the skin, so kind of just something to always be aware of. See, I'm going and lightening the shadows even more, adding a little more orange and red. That's another thing about skin tones. People always, I get people asking, how do you do skin tones? It's just like anything else. Like, there is not a skin tone color. There's not like a recipe for making perfect skin tones. Skin tones vary by the light that's around it. You can see I got purples and pinks and yellows and oranges, and you get a lot of greens. You get a lot of greens in skin tones, a lot. It's just really being objective and just being able to isolate the color and replicate it. A good way sometimes is to get a piece of paper and cut a little hole in it, put it over top of your picture, and just isolate the colors to see what the color really is, because a lot of these grayish tones are a little hard to identify, and that's just really it's gonna come in time with practicing with colors, and you'll get a feel with it. I highly recommend using the primary colors when you're starting out, because it really builds a strong foundation for color. You really understand how color works, and if you can do it with the primary colors, as you add colors, it'll make it easier, but you need that base foundation of color knowledge in order for it to really get everything you can out of having a bunch of different colors. And I mean, I still don't use much on this palette. I had white, alizarin crimson, a little cadmium red, some cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue. And that's it. I'll see some artists that have a ton of colors, and it seems to complicate things for me. I've never had anybody sit down and actually explain and teach me color. Maybe I should. It's just been completely instinctual. Yeah, I can see right now that left eye is too small and off center. I think I end up fixing that later. Never feel, always, if something's bothering you, fix it. Don't ever let anything just be there out of laziness. It's worth the time. Like that eye, later on I'll wipe it off and I'll redo it. It's oils. You can never mess up to the point of throwing away your painting with oils. Just redo it. See, I'm making it a little bigger there. It might be hard to see on camera, but the whites in the eyes, it's never pure white. I think I got some cerulean blue and a little yellow ochre in there. Same with the teeth and things. Nothing's ever really going to be pure white. I know some people like to make the reflection in the eye, a little dot, like to make that pure white. I know some that say that you shouldn't do pure white, to kind of tint it with a little bit of something, but be very aware when you are using pure white, because that's the end of the line on that side of the color value, and it's very rare that you do get to that. Just finishing up here. And his left eye is in more shadow than his right eye, or I mean, the way we're looking at it, his right eye is in shadow more than his left eye, and therefore, like the blue in the eye, like the color in his eyes, I make sure to, keep it a little bit darker than his other eye. And with his teeth, I don't go in and draw individual teeth. I find it's very easy to kind of draw them with the negative space around it, and the little gaps that kind of go up into the teeth, but I never sit and just draw an individual tooth. Teeth gave me a big problem for a while. Always found them difficult, but it's because I'd always treat them differently than the rest of the face. I'd kind of get to the teeth and I wouldn't do the same process of just breaking it down into shapes and doing the big shape first and going into more and more detail. That can happen with a lot. People do it with ears, eyes, anything, and if there's a section or a part of a portrait that you always have trouble with more than other sections, stop and think, are you treating it differently? Are you not following the same process that you do for the rest of the painting for this one, just because you have some sort of mental block, or because it's hard for you, or because chances are that's what you're doing and it's an easy fix. You just need to do it like you do the rest of the painting. And there's the finished portrait. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Hope you gained some knowledge about oil painting. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments in the comments section, and I'll look at them and I'll read them and I'll answer them. Maybe they'll inspire a new video. You can also follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero, here telling you to go get painting.